Mr. Yee Chia Singh.
Sir, with your permission, may I take questions 26 to 29 together?
Yes, please.
Thank you. In October, November, and December 2018, there were 5 reported food poisoning incidents involving Team Catering Private Limited, Tung Luk Catering, Food Talks Caterer and Manufacturer, Spice Restaurant at River Valley, and Mandarin Orchard Hotel. The joint investigations by the Ministry of Health, Agri-Food and Veterinary Authority of Singapore, and the National Environment Agency confirmed that there were no links between the incidents. In the case of Spice Restaurant, it was a salmonellosis outbreak of unusual severity, which suggests that the food was heavily contaminated. There was strong evidence of poor personal hygiene and food handling practices by food handlers, leading to contamination of ready-to-eat food and the environment. The operator was also found to have 7 unregistered food handlers and preparing food outside of the licensed premises. In the case of Team Catering Private Limited, a number of possible commonly found pathogens were identified from the human stool samples, including Clostridium perfringens and anthropathogenic E. coli, and several hygiene lapses, as well as poor kitchen habits were identified, including improper storage of knives and poor housekeeping. In the case of Food Talks Caterer and Manufacturer and Tung Luk Millennium Private Limited, while the causative pathogens could not be identified for both outbreaks, several food hygiene lapses were found at their premises. For example, no proper segregation between raw and ready-to-eat food in the same chiller compartment, no provision of hand-washing facilities, and cockroach infestation. For the case at Mandarin Orchard Hotel, the outbreak was caused by environmental contamination of the Grand Ballroom with norovirus, a common virus that causes gastroenteritis, which was propagated by poor environmental and personal hygiene practices, such as improper cleaning of vomiters and banquet servers continuing to work while ill. NEA has taken tough actions against the food operators who have violated the law. The operating license of Spice Restaurant at River Valley Road was terminated, and NEA will also press charges against the operator in court. The operating licenses of Tung Luk, as well as the ballroom and affected kitchen in Mandarin Hotel, will remain suspended until the operators have complied with the requirements imposed by NEA, which includes sanitizing the affected areas, reviewing the processes and rectifying the lapses. For the lapses found at Food Talks, NEA will be issuing summons to the operators. For selling food that is found unfit for human consumption, operators may face a penalty of up to $10,000 for the first offense, and in the case of repeat offenders, a fine of $20,000 or imprisonment of 3 months or both. NEA and AVA have stepped up surveillance and engagement of all food operators. Advisories were issued to remind all food operators to adhere to good hygiene and safety practices. NEA conducts regular inspections on food caterers, and in 2018, NEA conducted more than 2,400 checks. On top of these routine checks, over 900 additional inspections have been conducted since last month on food operators that provide catering services or that have substantial catering operations. NEA also conducted face-to-face engagement with key representatives from the Association of Catering Professionals Singapore, as well as the Restaurant Association of Singapore, to further reinforce the importance of food hygiene and safety. In addition, from 21st December 2018 onwards, staff appointed as Food Hygiene Officers, or FHO, at premises suspended by NEA are required to go for training to be recertified for the WSQ Conduct Food and Beverage Hygiene Audit qualification. The FHO of the suspended food establishments must be properly trained and recertified before they can recommence operations. An average of about 110 food establishments have been suspended annually in the past 5 years due to hygiene lapses. NEA and AVA have also been working to strengthen the overall regulatory framework for food operators in the lead-up to the formation of the Singapore Food Agency. For instance, the penalty regime for food operators involved in significant food poisoning incidents will be tightened. The total composition amounts will be increased, and those who commit serious hygiene offences will be prosecuted in court. In appropriate cases, NEA will also press for deterrent sentences to be imposed by the court. Even as we operate a stringent regulatory regime, food operators must bear the ultimate responsibility to serve safe and clean food to their customers. They must ensure that the premises are kept clean, food handlers practice good hygiene, and the food is prepared in a safe way for consumption. I urge all food operators to train their staff on proper hygiene practices and put in place adequate food safety measures, including ways to better monitor kitchen operations, such as using CCTV or conducting more regular checks to ensure good hygiene practices. NEA will continue to monitor the food operators closely, and we are prepared to tighten the enforcement further if necessary. NEA has leveraged on technology to equip officers with tablets and mobile workforce solutions, allowing them to access the licensee's information on the go, plan inspections efficiently, and be alerted of food-related incidents quickly for swift response. We will also enhance NEA's website and the My Environment app to make it easier for consumers to check the food hygiene records of the operators. We are also looking into measures to better notify the public about a food operator's license suspension. Consumers are urged to engage only licensed caterers and consume catered food within the stipulated consume by time period. Consumers who come across poor hygiene practices in food establishments should provide feedback to the authorities for further investigation.
Ms. Tin Pei Ling.
Thank you, SMS, for the answer. I have a few clarifications to make. One is I would like to ask, for caterers, there's the food delivery portion. So in terms of the delivery, sometimes they may outsource to a logistics company, for example. Does that compliance come under the purview of MUAL, NEA? And if so, what are the steps being taken to ensure that food safety, that the higher standards are still being complied? And second is that now and then with all these incidents, and I believe there might be tightening of measures to ensure compliance and food safety, how do we ensure that apart from putting up on websites, the latest changes or updates are being communicated effectively to the entire chain? So whether it's those who are preparing at the restaurant or those who are then in charge of the delivery itself, how is NEA, what is NEA doing to ensure this? Thank you.
The license will be issued to the food caterer to ensure that they prepare food in a safe way for consumption, and of course until delivery, because even at delivery, when the food is put out for consumption, there is also a time stamp, and they are to ensure that the food is safe for consumption and it must be consumed by a certain period. So for the logistics, whether they outsource or they actually use their own transportation, they need to ensure that it is done in a safe manner and that the food will not be contaminated along the way. But I take note of the member's question about increasingly more might be outsourced for delivery, and this is something that we continue to look at to see how we can strengthen our overall regulatory framework for the food caterers. And as I've noted earlier, in the lead up to the formation of the Singapore Food Agency, we are already looking at how we can strengthen the overall regulatory framework for food operators. And these include various things, not just reviewing the composition fines, that is raising the composition fines, which means that subsequently the court fines would also be increased, adopting a stricter stance in the administration of enforcement actions too, so sending more of the food operators who infringe and have serious lapses to court and pressing for deterrent sentences. But as you have also rightly pointed out, how can we ensure greater visibility of food operators who have been suspended, as well as accessibility to this information? So one of the things we are looking at, of course, is having a quick link on our website so that you can easily access the information on caterers who have been suspended, and even having a push notice through My Environment app of caterers who might have been, would have been suspended. We are also looking at other ways of strengthening this regime.
Ms. Joan Pereira.
I have one SQ. I note that regular checks are conducted on outlets. What I would like to know is if surprise checks are also conducted in addition to such regular checks, because regular checks probably the operators would know when NEA might be coming. I'm not sure, but if there are no surprise checks being conducted, I hope that can be done. Thank you.
So we do unannounced checks, and just to let you know, we actually adopt a risk-based approach to inspections. As I've said, for last year, for food caterers, we have actually done 2,400 inspections. In addition, an additional 900 inspections since last month. And this is actually not all. For the whole of 2018, we have actually done 77,000 inspections, not just for license renewal, but unannounced inspections. And it's risk-based, as in those operators who have a higher risk, for instance, food caterers who cater to a large number of people, and big volume of food as well as variety. So there will be more frequent checks for such operators.
Mr. Yee Chia Singh.
I'd like to thank the SMS for answer. Actually, I'm quite shocked at the incident at Spice where their unlicensed, unregistered food handler total disregard for basic food safety. I understand from news report that eggs that were meant to be discarded were sent to another outlet. I'm very happy to note that the NEA is increasing the penalties. Currently, the penalties only allow for fine at the first offence. Can I ask that with the revised penalties, is there a jail sentence even for such incidents for first offence, where is a total disregard for basic food safety? Thank you.
When there is very serious lapses, for instance, food poisoning leading to death in this instance, we are going to court to press for a deterrent sentence in addition to fine.
Ms. Rayu Mazam.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, SMS, for the comprehensive answer. I just wanted to ask, in particular, in relation to the assessment on the effectiveness of the measures that we've put in place. Because I think in the food industry, some of the difficulties that are faced are because there's a high turnover of the staff that's handling the food and actually working in the restaurants. I'm wondering if you're also looking at a bit of an assessment of how the food preparation is done, and where are the specific areas where there are lapses, especially in terms of training, because when one staff leaves, then they need to retrain and they need to make sure that the consistent standards are held. Whether there are also efforts in looking at the food preparation process in the different food establishments to see whether we can improve on training and in making sure that the consistency is maintained in the whole course of the restaurants and the business when they're running the business.
I thank the member for her question. And indeed, with regards to training, all food handlers have to undertake to complete the basic food hygiene course, and then to be registered before they can be allowed to handle food at these licensed premises. So we take a very serious view of unregistered food handlers under the point demerit system. And under our point demerit system, of course, such an offence will be considered a very serious lapse. We are looking at reviewing the training curriculum for these basic food hygiene handlers under the basic food hygiene course. But in addition to that, we actually require, for instance, establishments who are also allowed to cater food. That means they have a license to allow them to, in addition, cater food. We require them to have a food hygiene officer as well as implement a food management safety system. And that's the reason why from 21st December we have actually require that any premises, any licensed premises that is suspended would have to get their FHOs to train again and get recertified under the WSQ course, as I've said. And that really is to ensure that there is also good supervision. And of course, when they are suspended, they have to review and resubmit their food safety management system to us for approval again, to recertify again.